Hey there gardeners, Chris from Garden Setting here today. I am here with my dragon fruit plantation, or that's what I'm calling it for the moment. And as you can see here, I've got one dragon fruit put in. When I bought it, it was like that tall and it was fairly expensive, funnily enough. And it's since basically grown steadily when it was just in a pot. But once I attached it here and got my first vertical support in, I guess you'd call it, it's actually gone crazy. And what's really, really cool, and I'll get a close-up shot for you, it started to put tendrils into the timber, which is it grasping on and obviously working its way up, which it never did, even when it was just kind of sitting against things further down the property, like mainly against metal fences and things like that. So that is very, very happy there. This section of the garden, if we can call it that, I put these beds in specially for, I've got a grapevine there, I'm gonna have the dragon fruit in the middle, I'm gonna have another grapevine that's gonna go around the other side of this little caravan, and then I'm gonna try and get those grapevines going over the top of my dragon fruit so that they're not really competing for sun. North facing is kind of over there, so in summer, this is getting a lot of sun, a lot of sun. It'll be a little bit better in winter in not being quite so exposed, but realistically speaking, this is probably one of the hottest parts of the garden. And putting these in here is just going to be to really make this little area look a little bit nicer, hopefully, and to get some dragon fruits out of it. And also a big benefit is because from the guides I've seen online, a lot of people are talking about having to manually pollinate their dragon fruit. If I'm having to do that, I'm currently under our washing line and it's really close to the house. It's going to be super, super easy for me to do that, which is important. So that was a store-bought dragon fruit, red dragon fruit, and I was really lucky. One of my mates, David, in Sydney, gave me a whole heap of dragon fruit cuttings. His are way more established, and I've picked out kind of some of the better ones here, or not really the better ones, the bigger ones that I think are going to go well on these posts so that I can connect them up and kind of get them in place with a bit of this Hessian strap. And all I'm doing with that is lightly using some of these kind of U-nails to knock it in, because that way if I need to, I can just pull these out, readjust it, put it back in. It's simple, it's easy, and we're good to go. And obviously it holds it nice and securely. As you can see there, I've got quite a few pieces of that in place. So I think I've got 4 or 5 plants in here. I'm gonna chuck them in behind me. We'll get them in quickly because it is real warm. As far as these obviously being a form of cactus, they do like more moisture than the really rugged types of cactus, but we can see my original dragon fruit is going well here. And I'll give you a look at another one in a much more shaded area, which is actually doing quite well as well. Maybe as a bit of inspiration if you don't have quite these conditions. I haven't gone for the very traditional 4x4 tall with a square rack on the top and it flowing over the top of that. What I'm actually going to do at the top here is I'm going to run them behind the top support and hopefully cascade them over and get a similar effect, but I'm not running a dragon fruit on each edge of my piece of timber. So not as space efficient, I guess you would say, but it should work well with this location I've got here. So, you know, it's about working with what you've got and we'll see if it works really in the long run. Yeah, so I'll put these in, we'll get to work and we'll see how we go. I am trying to kind of align my dragon fruit so that the angle, because it's realistically like a 3-pointed star, is gonna sit up my support really well, and it's just gonna make it a little bit easier. Obviously this is quite a short one, so it's probably just gonna get a support around here for the meantime. I'm gonna try and train these pieces up and behind and to flow over, and we'll hopefully get some fruit from that. But you obviously when you're doing things for the first time and you've only really looked at online guides and things like that, you never know what you've done wrong or what challenges you might face. These have quite a small root ball, generally speaking, as you can see here for the plant. This one here, I'm going to put some of this straight on because just the way it's kind of grown has made it not the easiest to get stuck up against the support. I'm making a mess of this, as you can see. Ooh. And these are quite spiky, so keep that in mind. And what you want to do with this hessian strapping is get it doubled over and then put your little nail, and you could probably use a normal nail, through both pieces. Doing this in gloves is not the most ideal, but there we are. And that is fairly roughly held in place. There's a little tiny little caterpillar there running for its life. I'm not too worried about the mulch getting displaced while I'm doing this because I'm going to add a really heavy additional layer of mulch after we get the rain in the next couple of days, if it eventuates. And I've got some rainwater stored in case it doesn't eventuate, and we've just got to make do. This one, I'll try and put these two on. We'll see how we go. Just over here you can see my original dragon fruit, which is doing very, very well. It's finally started growing into the support, which was quite exciting to see, and it has massively increased in size since I put it in. Over here on my left are basically the new ones that I've put in, as you can hopefully see here. And again, the aim will be to grow them up, straight up that vertical beam, then go behind that support, as I've just done on this one over here. And then they can grow over the top here. And if they grow over the top, they'll cascade down. We'll be able to get some fruit because they need to be hanging to get fruit, and then we're good to go. I did use some Birdie's garden beds down the bottom here because I needed some good soil. Basically, under this section here, there's a bit of gravel and stuff like that, so it's not the most ideal for a dragon fruit, which from what I understand likes a more premium soil. And yeah, that's it at the moment. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got my additional dragon fruit. I did have to set up a little garden bed under this tree for it, and it has shot up as well. It was, I think, just to about here previously. We've got one of these branches coming up and over. We've got two more on the other side that I'll try and train. Basically, if I could get them cascading through the V in the tree here, that'd be pretty cool. I could even perhaps run this one all the way up to there and over and back down. Little caterpillar on my dragon fruit. So yeah, but as you can see, this has actually kind of started growing up the tree quite well. I'm not actually sure it's the same variety as the other one. Unlike that other dragon fruit, this one doesn't seem to have put any tendrils into the tree itself. Oh, there are some very, very light ones just there, very limited. So that's interesting. And we've got the branches over on the other side. They haven't really quite been following the tree yet. I might let them get a little bit longer and then I'll tie them to come up and across. But I feel like this is a success story. It's fairly easy to keep a bit of water on this. Even though it's much more protected, I'm interested to see how it goes compared to my other dragon fruit, which is in the more preferred full sun position. And obviously it's going to make this tree look a bit nicer. And in winter, this tree has nothing on it, and so this will add a little bit of green to this section of the garden, which is a nice little strategy, even if this doesn't fruit. So a bit of a win-win either way.